In a month, I think I've come to a decent understanding of it. But I guess what I'm saying is that the other grind settings are completely garbage. They're useless. And what it does is that it like separates the flavor profile of the coffee. And to an extent, if this makes any sense, you can actually taste the coffee with those different layers of flavors individually, instead of it being like a muddy cup, like everything homogenous together. But that's what it does. It's really trippy. It's like you're having like a shrink right next to you, coaching you, letting you know different delicacies of the actual coffee. It's not bullshitting you, because you can actually taste those layers now. You're not getting this muddy, like concentrated type of flavors that's hard to actually decipher exactly what you're tasting. I think it's time we talk about the ZP6 Suppresso. Okay. I just brewed a cup of coffee. Dark roast, if you wanted to know. 15 to 1. It's done in about 2 minutes and 10 seconds. 30-second bloom. It's kind of about the coffee, but it's more about this thing that's right in front of us. I've been using this actual grinder for about a month. I first started off with just grinding coffee because I wanted to get the burrs to be mature a little bit when it came to actually brewing a cup of coffee. I didn't want to be disappointed from the get-go of how my coffees tasted. But after constant uses of this particular grinder, playing around with different settings, getting to know the pros and cons of the grinder, in a month, I think I've come to a decent understanding of it, why it's critical probably for you, and what I think about it. I love grinders. Grinders are really the telltale story of how your coffee's tasting. Sometimes we can be mesmerized or thinking things are what they are, when it's more so the grinder. You know how to brew coffee. You're pretty good at it. You have your own recipe. You have your own go-to. Probably you listen to hopeless hap like me, right? But the grinders are pretty much mostly everything. Water and grinders, right? But we're talking about this grinder in particular. And the reason why is because this grinder has been considered one of the best budgets grinders that you can get if you're trying to look for clarity. Clarity comes in different burr sets, and those tend to be a little bit more expensive. In this case, I don't know how big the burrs are. I know it's conical and all this stuff. We're not going to take this thing a total apart, but I do want to just talk about what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and if it's for you. And again, this is a month in. So, like with all grinders, right now this is on the 5 setting, okay? That was a dark roast. And you would think that you can keep going more coarse with this grinder. I tried that. I tried it at 6. The coffee tasted actually fine to me. But after doing the TDS, it was severely weak. So I went to 5. And that's where it's supposed to be. At least for this coffee, for the way I brew and all that stuff, right? So we're going to go ahead and turn this all the way to 0, okay? Okay, so that's 0. Now, I'm going to let you know how many clicks you get total of this grinder. It goes to 8, okay? 8. So we're at 8. 9, 10, 11. 11. Okay. So supposedly 111 total clicks. Let's go back to 0 and try this one more time just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 6, 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 110. I thought it was more than that, but that's actually not a bad sign. So 11 clicks. This reminds me of the EK43. The EK43 has 11 prominent clicks, and then of course it has smaller dials in between and all that stuff, right? So you have 111 clicks. I'm sorry to say, though, that we're gonna go to 0. This is mainly for like pour overs and non-espresso like coffees. I haven't tried 0, but from, I would say 2, at least right now for the month being, and all the way up to 5.5. If you want to be generous, let's say 6. That's it. That's the range for this grinder. That's the sweet spot, at least for me. I will try some light roast in here soon, but I haven't done that quite yet. But I guess what I'm saying is that the other grind settings are completely garbage. They're useless. They're French pressy. They are, the grinds are not as consistent. It doesn't develop the coffee as much as you think that it should. So that's just from my assessment. Yes, I'm using my palette, but I also have gear and things that I'm testing. Even trying to slow down the coffee using like a Hario regular filter to kind of just slow things down. It needs a grind setting. I'm really hovering about most of the time between 5.5 and 4. Those are my grind settings that I'm using for this grinder. So do realize that you are really limited into what you're doing, and that's perfectly fine. You just want to be in a sweet spot anyway of this grinder, and that's kind of like more so the sweet spots. I don't know if that's a con, but do realize that I would say probably half of the grinder is completely useless. I don't know anybody who's going to go actually down to beyond 2, 1, and 0. I'll probably just try it for shits and giggles and all that, just to see. I may do that in the next couple of weeks or months and all that stuff, just to see where we're at with all this, right? But it could be a drawback to you. It's not so much of a drawback to me. It's just a realization. Let's go to positives real quick. Something that could be positive. I think this grinder is good for every single coffee. Some people say that it's not good for dark roast. You need a different grinder. I haven't put my paces through it with dark roast with this particular grinder, and with the fellow O2, and also with the EK43. But yeah, I think people who don't like dark roast can say that. But if you've tasted dark roast, trying to bring the best out of dark roast, it's really interesting. It gives you that subtleness of more clarity in the cup. There's little to no bitterness dialed in correctly. You can push this coffee a little bit more if you want it to, and you won't be offended by the taste and what it does for your palate. This is the magical thing about this particular grinder that I really do like. For instance, I always say that the saving grace or the interesting thing about lightly roasted coffee is that you can keep going finer and finer and finer. You can't really get that bitterness out of it to an extent, right? If you're approaching 23, 24% extraction, probably, depending on the coffee. But I've noticed with this one, there's little fines compared to other grinders. So you're not going to get that initial bite. You're going to get something that's already kind of like sifted through, if that makes any sense. You'll get your coffee and it's sifted through already. I don't know the way they make these burrs. It is what it is. It doesn't matter. It works really well. So you can push. I haven't tried light roast, but I'm sure you can push the crap out of light roast even more so, which I'll be trying the next couple of days. You could push medium roast it gets it more interesting. You can see it layered. And I think what I mean by clarity, if this makes any sense, is that here's, like, so to speak, your coffee, right? And what it does is that it like separates the flavor profile of the coffee. And to an extent, if this makes any sense, you can actually taste the coffee with those different layers of flavors individually, instead of it being like a muddy cup, like everything homogenous together, like other grinders. Even the K6, the coffees are cleaner, it's presentable, but the coffees don't have that type of separation in them. And I will tell you, it's kind of trippy because you have to pay attention to it. You have to like kind of just stay there in the pocket and just realize what you're drinking, because it can quickly leave you, if that makes any sense. You have to kind of be there the whole time to kind of see what that separation is. And I think you can see it more as you go lighter. Again, I've only tried it with medium roast and dark roast. And what it does with dark roast, it kind of lets you know how really good it is, or how more interesting it can really be. It makes pretty much almost any coffee interesting, more interesting. I have a Brazilian. You know about my Brazilian. It's chocolatey nutty. I can drink that Brazilian all day, every day, for however long it may be. It is so damn good. It is ridiculously good. And I think it's because of the nuances and the flavors that it brings out with this grinder. And that's pretty cool. This grinder's $200. I mean, that's a lot of money to some people. To others, it can be a drop in the bucket. But this is the grinder. This is what it is. And it's kind of cool that you can get something that's actually different. I thought it was bullshit, but it's actually different than when you're drinking it. So let's talk about more cons, okay? I actually dropped mine. I was doing something and it fell on the floor. It bruised up here, if you can see that, and it bruised down here. It's not a big deal. So this is how you take it off, okay? This is how you take it off, right? But if you keep spinning it, I don't know if this is just mine that does this now, but I think it does it anyway. It spins the whole collar up top, upper chamber. So you can theoretically take this off if you wanted to, but why would you do that? So it's kind of weird if you really think about it. It stays put this way if you spin it counterclockwise. So be careful. So when you take this off, if you keep trying to spin it, you're going to start spinning this collar. I don't know if other people have witnessed this. Let me know in the comments if you witnessed that. But it's not that big of a deal if you just kind of think about it. It's like you're just trying to take this off, and then you're not trying to get this on like really tight. You don't need to. It's fine. Okay? So that's one of the drawbacks, and I think that was always the case. But you tell me if I did something completely wrong to this. Depending on the coffee, it can get extremely chaffy in here. But I think that's mostly any coffee. You use a hand grinder, you use a regular grinder, it gets extremely chaffy. Cool thing is that it's a cool handle. I haven't figured out how to actually bend it. See people bending this crap all the time, but whatever. Cool, classy look. Put the thing on top. You can use this right here for the K6. All these things kind of fit together. I think these manufacturers kind of work together to kind of have some type of universal type of size and all that stuff, right? But if you're just looking for this particular grinder, this one works really well for what it is. It's heavy. It has some decent weight on it. And I would say that's really the only issue. What other things with it? It's kind of trippy if you actually try to fill up the coffee. If you put about 30 grams of coffee in here, because it can hold actually 30 grams up top, when you're actually produce your ground coffee, you're gonna have to stop like almost halfway or 2/3 of the way before your grounds are actually finished grinding. And you have to, what do you have to do? You have to take them out, put them somewhere, and then finish grinding. So the basket, the size of the basket is not the same size up top. So that's kind of weird, but it is what it is. Now you know, okay? The tactile turning is so like comforting. I do like that it's really easy to get right. Sometimes with the K6, K2, when you're turning, you kind of don't really know where you're at. But this one, since the ranges are such smaller compared to other grinders, it is what it is, right? That's kind of like the situation that you're dealing with when you're playing around with grinders and getting used to them. Do I like this grinder? Yes, I do. I like it a lot. At $200, it's an absolute steal. But you do have to pay attention more to your coffees. You're gonna have to think about the situation, why you like this coffee, what flavors you're really tasting, and it will actually help you on a very smaller scale, like the EK43, let you know if that coffee is any good. That's one of the drawbacks that I did have with the EK43, and it's almost with any good grinder, right? Is that when you actually have your cup of coffee and you drink it and you experience it, you start to wonder about the coffee. And then you start to wonder about your palate. And then you start going down this rabbit hole of like, especially if it's like just kind of subpar, especially if you got it from somewhere. I mean, I got it from myself. I roast my own shit, right? But anywhere like you start to wonder if things make sense for you in life. You go deep inside this rabbit hole and it's hard to come out of it. And then you just start to ponder and think, and you just start to like become depressed, especially if the coffee doesn't work. That's what this grinder does for you. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a good place to be, but that's what it does. It's really trippy. It's like you're having like a shrink right next to you, coaching you, letting you know the different delicacies of the actual coffee. It's not bullshitting you because you can actually taste those layers now. You're not getting this muddy, like concentrated type of flavors that's hard to actually decipher exactly what you're tasting. You start to get better about what you're tasting, but it can still be extremely trippy if that makes any sense whatsoever. So I think I rambled long enough about the ZP6 Espresso. For now, this is a month review. We'll see how it goes as we keep going. Got another grinder to kind of play around with too, to kind of see where we're at with all this grinder stuff. But this is OK at Everyday Beans signing off. I'll talk to you later. Bye.